Well, welcome to part two of making a really cheap rotisserie for the MGC. This is pretty much where we left off on the first episode, and I am now just giving it a coat of paint. I'm not going to bother painting it all, it's not worth it. And I just happen to have a bit of yellow paint, so we'll daub that over top of the welds and things, and it does make it look a little bit smarter, I suppose. And here it is in the garden, out to dry, making my wife very pleased with her new garden ornament. Although this looks like a repeat, it's not actually. I've left it in because I forgot to show on the first video the cross beam that I welded onto the end of the pivot. So I've left this in so you can see I'm just picking it up there and giving it a coat of paint. So obviously when that slots into the pivot point, you've now got a crossbar, and that was made appropriate to what I needed for the width of the mounting on the car. That actually is the front one I'm showing you there, because the back one is quite a bit wider, and that will become obvious as we go through. Okay, so this is how I decided to mount the rear pivot. And I've done it a bit unconventional for reasons that will become clear in the final episode. And I concluded this was the only way I could think of doing it, really, utilising some angle iron bolted through onto the existing rails, as you can see in the boot, and some 2x2 or 50x50 fairly heavy box. You'll see that the top 2x2 box section obviously sits on top, but it's hanging out the back there appropriately enough distance so that I could mount the cross brace from the rear rotisserie, and that's what determines the width of the top bar on the rotisserie I mentioned earlier. I will of course have to fill these weld holes up when I've finished, but in the scale of things I think that's pretty minor, really. And there's the basic assembly, nearly ready for welding, just to give you an idea what it looks like. Here I'm drilling some multiple holes up some angle iron sections which I've cut. Probably cut them a little bit long, but it doesn't matter. You'll see where they go in a minute, but they will give me my flexible height adjustment, just in case I've got the pivot point wrong when I bolt on the rotisserie to the car. And now we're welding it up, and you can clearly see where I've put the angle irons on the rear of the 2x2 box, 50mm box, and that will, as you'll see later, go on to the rotisserie. What I've done here is I've cut some small bracing chunks of steel, so to weld in any corners. I tend to get a bit worried about weight and things spinning around, and also always never trust my own welding, quite understandably really. So gussets everywhere, just a double check, and you'll probably see later when I did the front section I did the same thing. Where I thought it might need a gusset, I welded a gusset in. Better safe than sorry. Just welding up the other side, tack welding it together. Had a bit of a problem finding the way of bolting the rotisserie to the front of the car, and again in episode 3 you'll see why that was the case. I concluded that the engine plates were probably the best plates to mount it to, although they were quite a way away from the rotisserie. I was lucky that I had a couple of old iron plates, steel plates for something or other, some old shelving I think, which I utilised. So quickly unbolted those, give them a quick clean up, and they were pretty much perfect for the job. I had to re-drill a few holes, but no big deal really, and then we just slipped them on there for a nice base plate. Lovely jubbly. So again, using some 50 by 50 or 2 by 2 heavy duty box, managed to feed it through the front of the car. Bit of a funny angle, but I had no choice really. And then went to tack it on, which got it in the right place. And obviously you have to do the same on both sides. let's just pop outside and have a view of what it looks like so far. As you can see, they're on there pretty much where I want them. They're both in the same sort of place. So a bit of an odd angle in both directions. They both poke up in the air a little bit, and they are obviously not at 45 degrees. However, no choice, got to put up with it. As long as they're welded on strong, I don't think that'll be an issue. And on with some more welding, tack and try to fit, and then put it back on again a few times, but we've got it all to line up, and quite pleased with the result really. And yes, I know you've seen this short clip of video before, but it's drilling the holes in the angle iron for the adjustable height that we'll need. And obviously, when I did the back ones, I did 4, keeping all the holes in line so that I could use 2 on the back and 2 on the front. And now I've got it lined up how I like it. I'm just going to tack it back together while it's on the car and it's in the right place. And we just stick it back up on the vise just to give it the final weld, go right over it. And obviously you've got to do both sides. And you can clearly see the angle iron that I've welded on the end, which will become clear in the next video, and that gives us a bit of adjustability to find the central pivot point.